cowbells are back. Mississippi State upsets top 15 Arizona State. Joe, when you go back and watch this Mississippi State team, your thoughts or their win over Arizona State, what are your thoughts on the game?
I think that this says a lot more to me about Arizona State than it does Mississippi State. And look, credit to Lebby for what he was able to get out of his team. Credit for the fact that they were able to produce the splash plays that they needed. Credit to Shapen for stepping up and having the poise in very tight situations that he needed to. Like, credit deserves to go to him for all that stuff and for this team. But, dude, Arizona State has some problems that I think that I overlooked mistakenly this offseason. I think that this loss opens the door for some of the other teams in the Big 12 that we've been hyping up. I think that it is Utah, Texas Tech.
Right?
Yeah, Utah and Texas Tech's year to win the Big 12. Their secondary is bad, and their offensive line was brutal in this game. I mean, they couldn't protect Levitt. That kid was running for his life. He had no time. He was panicked. It was his worst game that I've seen from the kid. And their secondary, which was supposed to be an asset because it's bringing back experience, the younger guys in the group were making silly mistakes. I mean, with the last play that they gave up, that was the touchdown. It was a blown coverage. A simple, just heads-up play, blown coverage. Lack of execution, man. This is disappointing. I don't know what happens with this Arizona State team. I don't think they completely collapse, but I don't think that they've got what it takes to win the Big 12 again.
I felt like after the first half sack that he took close to the end zone, I think early, you're right, he got pressured a lot. After that, Joe, he kind of didn't. He kind of saw ghosts. I mean, there were some pockets that he's bailing out on that he has no business bailing out of. I mean, that's number one. Number two, I got to say this. I thought that Kenny Dillingham and company couldn't rally early, and that's why they lost. Joe, when I look at this game for Arizona State, okay, they had two running backs go over 100 yards rushing. They did not try to run the ball and establish the run early on the road, and it bit them in the ass. Let's go look at something very quickly in the first half. Joe, their first 7 possessions: punt, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Levitt INT, turnover on downs, a field goal, and then a 3 and out. They go into the second half, Joe. They would have 15 and 17 play drives. On the 17 play drive, they ran the ball 16 times. On the 15 play drive, they ran the ball 14 times. I don't know if that offensive line's bad when you can line up and run the ball in the second half for 200 yards, because they did. And I don't know if Mississippi State's a team that we should necessarily look at and say, oh, well, that's a quality opponent defensively. I don't know how to read that yet, because the season will tell us. But, Joe, they kind of got punched in the mouth early and had no idea how to recover. Their secondary, though, you talk about the splash plays. I thought that Lebby had such a good game plan on some of these situations, even late, to confuse this Arizona State secondary. You talk about the explosive splash plays. Anthony Evans, who had a massive game for Mississippi State, the 48-yard seam route shot in the first half, the Thompson fade from 47, and then the Thompson seam route to end the game. Joe, they got nothing else really going. They didn't run the ball effectively, did Mississippi State. They didn't do a lot of things on the ground that you would say, oh, okay, well, that's why it happened. They just kept hitting massive, explosive plays over and over again in critical moments, to where I think that, look, man, I think Lebby kind of outcoached Dillingham here to some regard. The reason I say that is I felt like Dillingham got punched in the mouth early, and it took him too long to respond. Now, you were able to come back, and you were able to take the lead in the fourth quarter. I don't know if Arizona State has found what they're looking for yet. But I thought Sam Levitt made some really bad decisions that this Mississippi State team made him pay for. The interception in the first half, the multiple rollouts where they batted the ball away on third downs. Joe, he only had 88 yards, but he was 10 of 22 Some of those in the second half, they got away from him because he couldn't complete a pass. He looked rattled in a lot of ways. I don't know what to make of that yet, but I say all that to say this about Mississippi State. I saw a team that knew that they had a chance to turn the tide here. Joe, they got a brutal schedule, SEC schedule.
Yeah.
And this is a top 15 opponent coming into your home at night for the first time in the Lebby era. Okay? In that situation, your camera went out.
Yeah.
In that situation, what we determined, and I'm going to wait for you to come back here so that we can for this edit cut.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. What we determined here with Mississippi State was, Joe, they got some weapons. I mean, they're building. Might not be what everybody wants them to be and how it's doing. But, Joe, they got some explosiveness at wide receiver. I thought they looked good in their front seven defensively. They kind of got run all over in the second half. That would be the only thing that I would talk about. I don't know what to make of Arizona State, but Joe, they did run the ball for 200 yards in the second half that we cannot overlook.
I think the problems that I have with Arizona State, Blake, is the fact that they put on film that their secondary is easily attackable. I mean, that is embarrassing. I'm just going to be clear about this, emphasize this, that it's embarrassing the plays that they gave up that swung the tide of the game the way that it did. Jordan Tyson, we know, is a fantastic receiver. They don't have much to turn to outside of Tyson. None. Nothing. Their second leading receiver was Raleek Brown, who's one of their running backs, who had 10 yards. They have a serious problem if all they can do is throw to Tyson. It's a serious issue.
Do you feel, to rudely interrupt you, I felt like they didn't get him enough touches or looks.
I think that they were trying to, and that was all they were really able to turn to in those few instances that he was able to get open. Teams on their schedule in the Big 12 that have better secondaries than Mississippi State that are going to be able to use this film are going to be able to slow down the passing attack. I think that it's almost to a point where opponents are going to, or in this circumstance, Mississippi State almost wanted them to run the ball. They were daring them to run the ball, and that was why they found so much success. The one thing that was quite stupid to me, how do you march down and get down in a goal-to-go situation and you end up kicking a field goal? I don't know if that was some sort of over-calculation of time management because there were around 2 minutes left on the clock and you were trying to get them to burn all their timeouts. I don't know how you don't just punch it in. That was ultimately the stupidest part about this. This was, and I'm not saying that Dillingham is a bad coach because I think he's a tremendous coach.
Yeah, we love him, but
it was almost a lack of experience. Like he's a very young guy. It almost felt like his inexperience as a coach caught up to him in a way that it shouldn't have. You completely overanalyzed the situation that was so simple that you got down to the 1-2 yard line a lot quicker than you thought you were going to. Just punch the damn ball in, because at the very least, if you give up that touchdown, you get the ball back, you go to overtime. That was so stupid and mismanaged by me.
The only thing with that was a 95-yard drive. And I felt like that the only thing that I would punch back on that with you is they went 95 yards in 8 or 9 minutes. I felt like he thought, because I was thinking the same thing you did. I was like, oh, he just thinks his team's gassed. He thinks his offense is gassed. And he went, and listen, for what it's worth, Joe, I mean, they don't get it in. You're right. It's 1:38 left on the clock. I mean, they just ran, they had the ball for damn near the entire fourth quarter. Literally 17 play, 95-yard drive. The problem is that if you're going to let them hit an explosive, let them be there by their own end zone, okay, and try to force them to a 3-and-out and punt the football, because you know they're not going to have time to get you on a busted coverage that goes for anything of significance. And then, Joe, if you force a punt, you can then try to go for the field goal there and win it, right? I do think it was a little mismanaged there at the end, but I felt like he thought that his team was gassed there. Look, massive win for Mississippi State. I don't feel like we talked enough about him. I will say this. Yeah. I thought Blake Shapen looked good in situations. You got to clean up some of the third down inefficiencies. They got to be able to find Bothwell the football and Booth the football a little bit more. You can't run the ball for 2.2 yards per carry. You just can't. No. Because when that happens, you're just – Joe, that's what happened to Arizona State. What happens when you play Texas, when you play Georgia, when you play these other teams, that will be the ultimate question. You did give up 251. It's a massive win for them. And, Joe, I don't want to take away what something – could be, Joe, they might go 4-8, 5-7, 6-6 for all we know. This is a monumental win for them. You still got a ways to go on both sides of the ball, but they got some explosiveness at wide receiver. Hey, have an off night in your secondary and watch what's going to happen, because Lebby's going to scheme it open now.
And I think ultimately, like, that's the biggest thing for me, is that everyone overlooks this team. And we never talked about them this offseason because we only had so much limited time to talk about as many teams as we did that were in the actual national championship conversation. Mississippi State's not a national championship contender. I don't think that's a hot take for anyone, but the assumption that they were going to finish last in the SEC was just out there. No one thought that they could do anything. No one thought they were going to win this game.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot more lifeless teams in the SEC, a number of which that they can outperform. Like Arkansas is a team that they can finish with a better record than. Kentucky's a team that they can finish with a better record than. Start slowly climbing is the goal here with Mississippi State. Go from being as rough as you were last year into competitive, and then go from being competitive into unexpectedly scrappy. That's how Vanderbilt built themselves up. That's how South Carolina has always built themselves up. That is how you turn yourself into a upper. You're never going to – Mississippi State winning the SEC is going to be a really hard thing to actually happen. The Dak Prescott, Dan Mullen year was an anomaly. But to be in the top mix –
9-3.
Right. To be in the top mix of like the top 8 teams is accomplishable for them.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, they got some serious speed at wide receiver now.